Well, Trump said that he was going to be putting an end to the Russia-Ukraine war, and it looks like today, February the 12th, 2025, he is making good on that promise. Take a look at the latest headlines that have been coming out with me. Trump says that he spoke with Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. Trump says they agreed to have their teams start negotiations immediately. Take a look at another one coming out right here. Trump says Russia agrees to immediately begin negotiations to end the war in Ukraine. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations, Trump has said. So it looks like we are one step closer to a potential end of the Russia-Ukraine war. However, we're hearing that we could be one step closer to all-out war with other nations. Take a look at this. Trump threatens all hell is going to break out if Hamas delays the hostage release. And take a look coming out today. Hamas says Trump's threats to unleash hell has no value. In addition to that, we're hearing that you're going to see in the video footage here that Elon Musk is issuing a major Social Security warning as we're hearing massive fraud unlike anything we have ever seen in history is being revealed at this time. FEMA officials fired after Musk claims they paid to house migrants in luxury New York City hotels. And also, has Elon Musk blown the whistle on the biggest fraud in U.S. history? Claims over $100 billion have been lost in entitlement scams. And yes, as you saw, they're talking about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, these programs for the United States. We're hearing massive fraud taking place. So I'm going to share with you the latest video footage and articles so that way you can see it for yourself, as we are hearing that Donald Trump is one step closer to putting an end to the Russia-Ukraine war as of today, February the 12th, 2025. And if you're glad to hear it, and if you appreciate Donald Trump as the new president of the United States, drop a 47 in the comments for your support, as we're hearing he is one step closer, negotiations to start immediately between the teams. I'm going to play for you the video footage. Now, in addition to that, though, we are also hearing things are escalating in the Middle East between Hamas, the United States, and Israel, and they are saying that they are not going to be responding to his all hell will break out. So we're hearing that this Saturday, if all those hostages are not released, we're going to find out what that means here very soon. And in addition to that, you're going to see this in the video footage I'm about to play. We're hearing that Elon Musk, he is saying this is the biggest fraud we have ever seen, and it involves Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The things that are coming out come to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars that is about to be exposed in federal fraud taking place. And this could be a game changer for a lot of these programs. So if you collect these benefits from the Social Security Administration, man, you are going to want to see, because this could be changing everything. But like I said, I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, share with you the latest video footage and articles. These are going to be linked down in the description below. I cite all the sources like a book report, so that way you can see them for yourself, know that it is the latest, and you can rest assured. I put all the dates, put the sources, they're hyperlinked down below. And if you appreciate that, do me a quick favor, click that like button, help spread this out further. Also, if you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Subscribe. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. And as news rolls out, I'll keep you up to speed, like I said, because there is a lot going on. So let's get right to it. But before we do, I wanted to share with you just one quick opportunity that is available to you guys. Go ahead and take a look at this video, and then we're going to jump into the video footage. Well, Trump has made his cabinet choices, and many people are very happy, but some not so much. But regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, we all can agree we all want to see America prosper. But regardless of politics, we still have major headwinds ahead of us. Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, China, Taiwan. A lot of people believe that we are getting close to World War III. Our U.S. debt is still massive and still growing. Even with the stock market and Bitcoin up, how strong and safe is our economy really? And of course, the cost of groceries and basic necessities is still eating away at people's savings and retirement accounts. I hope things improve, but they could get worse before they get better. Nobody has a crystal ball, and that's why I recommend that we all stay proactive and protect our hard-earned money with gold and silver. It's easy to move some of your savings or retirement accounts into gold and silver, which holds its value and protects your wealth long-term. You've seen my interview with Lear Capital's founder, Kevin DeMeritt.
His company is solid and all about education. Call Lear Capital today at 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com. Get your free wealth protection guides. Remember, there's no obligation, just free information. Lear has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, $3 billion in trusted transactions, and is one of the only companies with a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. Call Lear today at 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com. Again, that's 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com. Also ask how you can get an additional $15,000 in bonus gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. I recommend you do this and be prepared to have some peace of mind throughout 2025.
There you have it, you guys. So be sure to check that out. That's linked in the description. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the video footage. As I mentioned, we are hearing that right now, there is a lot coming out as we are potentially looking at an end to the war, and we are hearing about the biggest scams in U.S. history taking place right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video footage so that way you can see it for yourself. And like I said, if you appreciate the updates, do me a favor, take a second, hit that like button. Let's take a look at this video footage.
All right, to the White House, Tulsi Gabbard officially sworn in just moments ago. Let's listen to the president.
Immediately, but we had a very good talk with, people didn't really know what President Putin's thoughts were, but I think I can say with great confidence he wants to see it ended also. That's good. And we're going to work toward getting it ended and as fast as possible. It's a horrible situation going over. It's flat land. And the bullet goes off, and the only thing it can hit is a body, a human body, a young human body. And they're losing just tremendous numbers of mostly soldiers. The cities and towns have been largely demolished. It's a shame what's happened to that country. It would have never happened if I were president. That I can tell you. Would have never happened. It's to look at that. And October 7th would have never happened either, by the way, the Middle East. But we'll get it. I think we'll get it. We'll get something done. We're going to be meeting. Actually, tomorrow they're meeting in Munich, as you know, and we're going to have some other meetings. And I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here, and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia. The first time we'll meet in Saudi Arabia, see if we can get something done. But we want to end that war. That war is a disaster. It's a really bloody, horrible war.
Did you Saudi Arabia, the first meeting will happen?
I think so. We think we're going to probably meet in Saudi Arabia, the first meeting.
Any idea when?
Hasn't been set, but not too distant future.
Did you also be part of that meeting?
We both understand. You know, we know the Crown Prince, and I think it'd be a very good place to meet.
So it sounds like that would just be a meeting between you and Putin and perhaps the Crown Prince, but not President Zelensky?
Probably we'll have a first meeting, and then we'll see what we can do about the second meeting.
Did you also commit to go to Ukraine?
What about Ukraine?
Did you commit to go to Ukraine as well?
No, I haven't. I haven't committed to go to Ukraine. I would think about going. Yeah, I'd think about it. No problem.
You say today, Mr. President, that they receive your vision. What is your plan to end this war? Like today, Secretary...
Well, I'm not going to tell you my plan. I can just tell you we've made a lot of progress. This should have been done by Biden, not by me, because this has been going on for now a long time, years. And it should have been done by Biden. Just like the young gentleman that I brought home yesterday after 2 weeks. We worked on it for 2 weeks. It was a fine man, and he was in there for 3.5, almost 4 years, and they weren't able to do a thing, and I got him out. And as you know, I didn't pay $6 billion. I didn't pay anything. We did a trade, and we did a good job. We got him out in 2 weeks. It should have been out years ago. It really should have been out years ago.
Oppose NATO membership for Ukraine?
I don't think it's practical to have it, personally. I know that our new Secretary of Defense, who's excellent, Pete, made a statement today saying that he thinks it's unlikely or impractical. I think probably that's true. I think long before President Putin, they said there's no way they'd allow that. This has been going on for many, many years. They've been saying that for a long time. that Ukraine cannot go into NATO. And I'm okay with that. I just want the war, whether they are or they're not. But it certainly would seem to be that most people have said that that is something that's not going to happen.
Are you freezing out President Zelensky of this process a bit? Isn't there a danger of that?
No, I don't think so. As long as he's there, but at some point you're going to have elections too. You're going to have an election.
He says he wants security assurances, Mr. President. What does that look like?
In terms of what?
If the war were to end, he says he wants guarantees of security.
We'll see what that means. I think when the war ends, one thing he was very strong about, if it ends, he wants it to end. And that's President Putin said that. He wants it to end. He doesn't want to end it and then go back to fighting 6 months later. We talked about the possibility, I mentioned it, of a ceasefire so we can stop the killing. And I think we'll probably end up at some point getting a ceasefire in the not-too-distant future.
Do you expect Ukraine?
Say it, what?
Do you view Ukraine as an equal member of this peace process?
It's an interesting question. I think they have to make peace. Their people are being killed, and I think they have to make peace.
We will continue to provide.
I said that was not a good war to go into, and I think they have to make peace. That's what I think.
Mr. President, why did you decide to provide support to Ukraine?
Would you support Zelensky ceding territory or exchanging territory in any agreement to end the war?
Well, he's going to have to do what he has to do, but, his poll numbers aren't particularly great, to put it mildly. He's got a country where, it's been savaged and attacked, and he's got an army that's been very, very brave, actually, despite the fact that, we've given him, in my opinion, $350 billion. That's what the real number is. You don't hear that number. And Europe has given, in my opinion, $100 billion. And they've done it in the form of a loan. And I have a Secretary of Treasury right now who's actually quite brave. He's over in Ukraine on a train. And there's a lot of things happening around that train that aren't so good. And he's going there to get a document done where we're going to be assured that we're going to, in some form, get this money back, because we're putting up far more money than Europe, and Europe is in far more danger than we are. We have an ocean in between. Europe has nothing in between. They have in between, they have Ukraine in between. So wait a minute. So, as you know, Europe is putting up money, and they're getting it in the form of a loan. And the United States under Biden didn't do loans. They just handed money every time somebody walked in from Ukraine. They just handed them money foolishly. This should have never happened. It should have never started. And once it did, other things should have happened. Other things should have taken place. So we're getting security on our money. We're going to have it secured by, they have rare earth, and they have oil and gas, and they have a lot of other things. And we're asking for security on our money.
So does it mean you are not sending any more
They've agreed to
aid
it.
Ukraine?
Ukraine has agreed to it.
Does it mean you are not sending any more aid to Ukraine?
No, we are, but we want it secured, and the money is going to be secured.
When would the U.S. stop sending funding? When would the U.S. stop sending funding?
Because if we didn't do that, then Putin would say he won. We're the thing that's holding it back, and frankly, we'll go as long as we have to go, because we're not going to let the other happen. But President Putin wants to have peace now, and that's good. And he didn't want to have peace with Biden.
Was that conversation with Putin?
And you tell me why that is, okay?
Was that conversation with Putin to start these negotiations part of the deal to bring Fogel home?
No, but it was a nice thing that he allowed Mark Fogel to leave. In fact, Mark wasn't feeling well, but he was, all of a sudden, about 2 weeks ago, he started being treated very nicely. He said they took him out for haircuts. They took him out. They helped him out a little bit and made him feel better, made him look better. And they were nice to him. And he said, I saw something happening. And it coincided with when I came into office. So that was nice. And he's a fine person. He was so happy to be out. He was there for 3.5 years plus, and he shouldn't have been there at all. They should have had him out much faster than that.
What does make you believe that Zelensky will agree?
Wait, go ahead, please.
Sorry, sir, just to be clear, do you see any future in which Ukraine returns to its pre-2014 borders?
Well, I think Pete said today that that's unlikely, right? It certainly would seem to be unlikely. They took a lot of land, and they fought for that land, and they lost a lot of soldiers. But it would just seem to me, and I'm not making an opinion on it, but I've read a lot on it, and a lot of people think that that's unlikely. Some of it will come back. I think some of it will come back. Yeah, some of that land will come back.
These are both Russian.
Who are you with?
Sorry, me.
Yeah.
AFPs.
You who?
AFP, Agence France Presse.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you, the things that the Secretary of Defense was talking about, the 2014 borders and the lack of NATO membership. Ultimately, these are both demands that Russia has made in the past. Is there not a danger of handing Russia a kind of win on this?
Well, I think that if you look at the war, the way the war is going, you'll have to make your own determination. I'm just here to try and get peace. I don't care so much about anything other than I want to stop having millions of people killed. Last night, Kiev got hit very, very hard. I want to see people stop getting killed. That war is ridiculous. It should have never happened, and it would have never happened. Yeah, a couple of more questions.
Are you planning to sign today? Are you planning to sign an executive order on reciprocal tariffs, sir?
Yes, I am. In fact, I may do it today, and if I do it today, I could almost do it right now. Would you like me to talk about it now? I don't want to take anything away from this young lady's day, because this is her day, and I may do it later on, or I may do it tomorrow morning, but we'll be signing reciprocal tariffs. The world has taken advantage of the United States for many years. They've charged us massive tariffs that we haven't charged them. And as you know, I just did something on steel and aluminum, 25%. That'll go up at some point, but 25%, which will level the playing field quite a bit. I did it previously 50%, and Obama was very weak, and Biden was even weaker on steel. The steel was just absolutely, it really started with Obama. The world really took advantage of us, and then that morphed into Biden. And what they did was he was so worried about trying to attack his political opponent that he didn't know what he was doing with respect to countries taking advantage. He should have looked at the countries, both friend and foe, taking advantage of us. So we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs, which is whatever they charge, we charge, very simply. But we're going to be...
Considering exemption, talk about widespread fraud and abuse.
Oh, yeah, tremendous fraud. There's tremendous fraud. And it's hard to believe that you can have that kind of fraud. You're talking about, like, are you talking about what? Wait. Which are you talking? You're talking about with regard to all of the investigations that are going on about this stupidity. What we're going to do is tomorrow I'm having a news conference. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars have been given to. And if you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. When you look at the kind of money, billions and billions of dollars being thrown away illegally, and there's no chance. I mean, I say it in front of our Attorney General, there's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back in some form. And that's only one form of corruption. The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made, and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable. Okay, 3. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We have a lot of stuff, and I want to commend Elon because he's done a fantastic. He doesn't need this. He's abused by you people every day. He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And it's his group of people. They started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100. People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place. And then you have judges that are activists, and they sit there and they say, oh, as an example, $59 million going to a little small group in New York City You get nothing going to North Carolina to help nothing. They say, we don't have any money because they've given it away on the border. But you have nothing. What they did to North Carolina is a shame. And then they sent $59 million to New York City for a hotel for a little bit of what they've done. A hotel that was not luxury, that's getting luxury rates for migrants, where they're making a fortune. And we catch them. We catch them. But a judge says, well, even though it may be a fraud, you have to send the money in anyway. Send the money. I said, wait a minute. We have money that shouldn't go because we caught it before it was sent out. But they want the money to go anyway. And I think you're going to have a lot of things to look at, Pam. I really do. What's going on with this whole thing. And this is just one group. We haven't talked about Department of Education. We haven't talked about the military. We haven't talked about a lot of things that are very big. And what's happened is, as an example, you'll have cases where you have a 3-month contract, and maybe the guy that signs the contract leaves. Maybe he gets rich. All of a sudden he leaves for that reason. But you have a 3-month contract, and maybe he leaves. So the contract is sitting there, and the people signing the checks don't know it's 3 months, and it goes on for years. The 3 months turns out to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Just goes on forever. And the guy on the other side of the contract just keeps getting check after check after check, because Elon had an expression yesterday, because nobody cares. It's a great expression. Nobody cares. The guy that signed the contract didn't care. Maybe there, may not be there, maybe crooked. Who knows? But you have to care. Otherwise, you can't really run a thing like that, or you can't run a country, really. Because there's so many transactions, thousands and thousands of transactions. And if you don't have people that care, you're going to lose control. And that's what's happened. And we've caught it. Now, what we caught is billions and billions of dollars, but it's a tiny fraction of the real number. Because you can never catch the real number, because people have gotten away with tremendous amounts of money. But I said we have to make our government smaller, more efficient, more effective, and a lot less expensive. And we could find $1 trillion, but we're being hindered by courts where they file in certain courts where it's very hard to win. And a judge will stop us, and a judge will say that it doesn't make any difference what you find. You just keep paying the money. That's a hell of a way to be. And I follow the courts. I have to follow the law. All it means is that we appeal. But that gives people time to cover their tracks, and that's what they do. So it's a very bad thing that's taking place. But hopefully, if the courts, hopefully the courts will be fair. They don't have to be very fair. They just have to be a little bit fair, because this is so egregious what's taken place. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nobody's seen numbers like this. These are massive numbers. $9 million for somebody to go and stand in a store and see how people shop. Okay, I mean, you take a look at these things. It's a disgrace. And then you have a country that we want to make America great again. It's very hard to make America great again when you have things like this. And you're going to see the same thing. Department of Education is going to be a disaster. The military, I mean, I see it. Look, I came in, they had a contract done, as you know, for $5.7 billion for airplanes. It was Air Force One with Boeing, 5.7. I got it down to $4 billion, little less than that, 1 penny less than that. $3,999,999 and 99 cents. I said it has to have a 3 in front of it, because I wouldn't sign the contract for $5.7 billion. I was able to cut $1.7 billion off the price, and it didn't take me long. $1.7 billion. If people would care, they'd be able to do that with every single contract that's put before them. And we wouldn't have deficits, would have nothing but a tremendously low-taxed, wonderful country. But they have to care. And speaking of that, you know, Boeing, we're not happy with the service we're getting in terms of those planes. They would like to get more money. We're not happy about that whole thing. We signed a very strong contract. I signed a guaranteed maximum contract, which they haven't seen in a long time. And they're saying they're getting hurt by it. but they have to produce the product, and we expect them to produce the product. They have to produce the product. They agreed to build planes at a certain price. They're not used to that. They're used to having time and material contracts where it's whatever it costs, time and material, no dates, no anything, and it ends up costing 5 times more. You look at some of the ships that have been built. Take a look at the Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier, the Ford. It was supposed to cost $3 billion. It ends up costing like $18 billion. And they make, of course, all electric catapults, which don't work. And they have all magnetic elevators to lift up 25 planes at a time, 20 planes at a time. And instead of using hydraulic, like on tractors that can handle anything from hurricanes to lightning to anything, they use magnets. It's a new theory. Magnets are going to lift the planes up, and it doesn't work. And they had billions and billions of dollars of cost overruns. I met the architect. I said, have you designed a ship before? This is one of the biggest ships in the world. It's like landing at LaGuardia Airport. But you look at the kind of waste, fraud, and abuse that this country is going through, and we have to straighten it out. We have great people going into the military in terms of we need ships, we need a lot of things. We have great people we have business people going in. But when you look at what's happened to our purchasing, and when you look at the USAID, when you look at the things that they're giving to them, the billions of dollars that they're giving to, and it doesn't make sense. It is interesting that when you're looking for fraud, you look at items, hundreds of items, and you'll find 1 or 2, maybe, if you're lucky. Here's something where you look at data, and they're all fraudulent. You know, by just looking at the topic, they're all fraudulent, except it's the opposite. You'll find 1 or 2 that's like a legitimate reason. So I just want to thank Elon for going through it. I want to thank all the people that are working with him. You know, we have a big group of people. I think the lowest IQ is about 160. That's very high. I think you have a couple of 182s in there, but they're doing a fantastic job. He doesn't need it, and they don't need it, but we're showing things, and it's going to be it's a big. People have no idea how important it is. Yeah.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job. We're ranked, so they rank the top 40 countries in the world. We're ranked number 40th, but we're ranked number 1 in one department, costs per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, but we're ranked number 40. We've been between 38 and 40. The last time I looked, it was 38, and then I looked 2 days ago, it came out the new list. It came out at number 40, so we're ranked 40. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, I hate to say it, China, as big as it is, it's ranked in the top 5, and that's a primary competitor. We're ranked number 40. So if we're ranked number 40, that means something's really wrong, right? And I say send it back to Iowa, to Idaho, to Colorado. Send it back to places that, and a lot of Indiana. You have a great new governor. You have a great senator that Jim Banks just got elected. You got great people. I'll tell you what, Indiana's going to be fantastic. We probably have 35, maybe 37 states that will do as well as Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden. They'll be just as good. Then you have the ones that we all know about. It'll be the same story. But you know what? Even they will be good. Because you look at New York, you give it to Westchester County, you give it to Long Island, you give it to Nassau County, you give it to Suffolk County. Same thing you go out to, and you give it to upstate New York. So you'd have 4 or 5 sections. You give it to Manhattan. Manhattan's a little bit tougher for some reason. I don't know why it would be tougher, but it is. You give to California, and you go to various areas outside of Los Angeles, and you might have 6 or 7 different subgroups. But generally, like if you go to Iowa, you give it to Iowa. You don't have subgroups, you have Iowa. And other places that do a good job. If they do a good job, they're going to do a great job in education. Those places will be every bit as good as the various countries that do so well. All the time, it's the same countries that are doing well. And so we have a Department of Education where people from Washington, D.C., who in many cases don't care about the kids out in the country. They don't care about the farms and the farmer's daughter and the farmer's sons. We have a massive bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. We have buildings that are all over the city. Department of Education. I never saw Department of Education's on all these buildings. By the way, nobody shows up to work because they're all working at home. You know, quote, working at home. They're not working at home. And a lot of them have second jobs. And that's the other thing that Elon Musk is looking at. How many of these people are getting checks, working at home, but they're not working because they have second jobs and even third jobs? You're going to find a lot of them. And those people are going to be fired because we have to make our government smaller. All right, one more question. Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead. Nice to see you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Two questions, one on Ukraine again, and then another one on the Kennedy Center. Do you think that as far as your negotiating tactics go, did Pete Hegseth take away some of your negotiating abilities with Putin by taking Ukraine's sovereign integrity off the table, by taking...
No, I haven't done that. I'm backing Ukraine. I'm backing Ukraine. Don't say that. I'm approving, but I do want security for our money. You know, Europe is getting security. You know that, right? They're giving their money in the form of a loan. Nobody knows that. And why are we at 350 billion and Europe, which doesn't separate with an ocean like we do, we have a little thing called an ocean in between. Why is it that Europe is paying 200 billion less than us to help Ukraine? Very similar size. If you add up all the European countries, it's a little bit smaller than the U.S. in terms of the economy. Why is it that they're not paying the kind of numbers that they should be paying? And then on top of it, and I've been saying this to Biden, I told Biden, I said, you ought to be asking for either a loan or some kind of a security, like their oil and gas or something for the money, because you're putting up much more money than Europe, and you have no security. Europe's putting up a much smaller amount, and it's in the form of a loan, because we have people that were incompetent in the last administration, grossly incompetent, and we're changing it. But we change it, and all we do is we get hit by lawsuits from the radical left all the time. But here we are. We stand, and I guess we've done okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Quickly, let's go. Come on, guys. Hey.
So there you have it, you guys. So that was Donald Trump moments ago earlier today, as we are hearing that he has said that they're going to be putting an end to the war with Russia and Ukraine. He has started the negotiation talks. In addition to that, you heard him mention about some of the fraud that is about to be exposed. They're saying the biggest in history is about to come out to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, and that also is directly linked to, they said, federal programs, including Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. A lot of these, they're saying unbelievable amounts of fraud are being exposed. We're hearing a lot of people have been fired from FEMA for some of the things going on. So like I said, I'm going to keep you guys up to speed on all of this. Now, let's take a look at some of the articles so that way you can see it for yourself. Coming out today, you can see February the 12th, 2025. This article says, Trump says that he has spoken with Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. Trump says that he has agreed to have their team start negotiations immediately. Now, this article says that President Donald Trump on Wednesday today said that he has spoken with the Russian President Vladimir Putin about ending the war in Ukraine, which started 3 years ago when Putin's forces launched a full-scale invasion. Trump also spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after his call with Putin. Now, the conversations occurred as U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth offered the fullest view yet of the administration's approach to the conflict, one Trump had claimed during the campaign that he could end on the first day of his new administration. Hegseth told foreign leaders and allies during a Ukrainian Defense Contact Group meeting that a return to Ukraine's pre-war borders is an unrealistic objective in the peace talks, as was NATO membership for Ukraine. So there you have it, you guys. We've been seeing headlines coming out saying that Trump has said that there will be no NATO unification with Ukraine, and we've also heard him say that it is unrealistic that they will go back to the pre-war boundaries. So Ukraine is going to cede some of its territory to Russia. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering, Hegseth said. Zelensky has long demanded full territorial liberation and earlier this week signaled a willingness to swap territory with Russia, giving us land Kiev has held in Russia's Kursk region, a suggestion Russia resoundingly rejected. Trump echoed some of Hegseth's comments as he spoke to reporters in the Oval Office on Wednesday afternoon, saying it seemed unlikely Ukraine would see its borders return to the pre-2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, though he believed some of it would come back. Asked if he viewed Ukraine as an equal member of the peace process, Trump paused before responding. It's an interesting question. I think they have to make peace. Their people are being killed, and I think that they have to make peace. He then appeared to blame Ukraine for the conflict despite Russia's aggression. I said that was not a good war to go into, and I think they have to make peace, he continued. Now, while Hegseth ruled out NATO membership, Hegseth said that the U.S. recognizes Ukraine must receive robust security guarantees. He proposed a non-NATO mission of European and non-European peacekeepers could be deployed to Ukraine, but with no U.S. boots on the ground. Trump called his conversation with Putin, which the Kremlin said lasted for about an hour and a half, a highly productive one. On Ukraine, Trump said that he and Putin agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations, and to have our respective teams start negotiating immediately. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strong in it, Trump said. According to the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, Trump spoke in favor of an early end to hostilities and a peaceful solution to the problem. President Putin, for his part, mentioned the need to eliminate the root causes of the conflict and agreed with Trump that a long-term settlement can be achieved through peaceful negotiations. Trump called Zelensky after his discussion with Putin, with their call lasting about an hour. Zelensky's spokesperson told ABC News. He, like President Putin, wants to make peace, Trump posted afterwards. We discussed a variety of topics having to do with the war, but mostly the meeting that is being set up for on Friday in Munich, where Vice President J.D. Vance and the Secretary of the State, Marco Rubio, will lead the delegation. So there you have it, you guys. We're hearing that this is going to be taking place on Friday. And in addition to that, we're going to be hearing whether or not Hamas responds to the threats of Donald Trump on Saturday. So this weekend is going to be a big weekend regarding global conflicts. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked during Wednesday's briefing if Trump expected Ukraine to cede all of its territory in question to Russia. Again, these negotiations are ongoing, she said. I will allow the president to divulge any red lines that he may set. When asked if Hegseth's comments were taking some of Ukraine's sovereign integrity off of the table in negotiations, Trump said, "No, I haven't done that. I'm backing Ukraine. I'm backing Ukraine." The developments come after Trump, during an ABC News presidential debate in September, notably refused to say whether he believed Ukraine should win the war against Russia. I want the war to stop, Trump said. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, who, like former President Joe Biden, pledged to support Ukraine and cast the conflict as a fight for democracy and independence, had pushed back on his answer. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up, she said during the debate. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. And that was the quote that came out from Kamala Harris. So there you have it, you guys. The breaking news coming out that Donald Trump is saying, you can see Trump says that Russia has agreed to immediately begin the negotiations to end the war with Ukraine. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. Now, as I mentioned, this comes while simultaneously we're going to be seeing how it is that Hamas responds to the threats of Donald Trump, as he had threatened all hell would break out if Hamas delayed any hostage releases, and if the hostages were not all out by this Saturday, that there would be all hell to pay. And well, what we're hearing is, take a look at this. Hamas says Trump's threats to unleash hell, they have no value. So we will see where we go from here. Now, in addition to that, as I mentioned, I will pin this for you guys down below, but we're hearing that Elon Musk has issued major Social Security warnings as well. Now, I just did a live on this, like I think it was yesterday or the day before, so you can check it out. Covered all the details for you. But what we are hearing is that right now we are about to see the exposure of the biggest fraud in U.S. history in our federal government, to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars. It is insane what they are saying is being proposed right now, and what this is potentially going to be meaning for the United States, for programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. I will keep you guys up to date every step of the way. And I see Peggy saying hell is about to break loose in the Middle East. She's referring to, yes, we're hearing that this is likely what is going to be unfolding here. So I will keep you guys up to date every step of the way because there is a lot going on. So that is the latest, you guys. And let me know your thoughts. Are we going to be seeing peace with Russia and Ukraine? If you think so, put a 1 in the comments. If you think no, we're going to be having war, put a 2. Let me know your thoughts. And like I said, I'll keep you up to date with all the things that are going on because there is a lot. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll be sure to keep you up to date. I will catch you in the next one. Hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? Thank you so much for joining me, and you guys have a blessed evening. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.